Star Wars Legends The New Republic Volume 2. If you want to see the true continuation of Han, Luke, and Leia's adventures past Return of the Jedi, and what I consider to be the actual Star Wars sequels in a visual comic medium, is in this book. And what I would call the main attractions of this omnibus are incredibly important to the expanded universe as a whole: the Thrawn trilogy and the Dark Empire trilogy. I only wish the Jedi Academy trilogy got a comic adaptation, because I think that would slot right in. Anyway, this omnibus doesn't really tie in all that much to Volume 1. It's a great omnibus, but it's mostly about Rogue Squadron. You can get them independent of each other, so it's not required reading. Link in the description if you want to see my review. In addition to Thrawn and Dark Empire, there are also a lot of short Tales comics, and more comics about Boba Fett. All stories being post-Episode 6, of course. Anyways, looking at the front cover of the omnibus, it's using the iconic cover of Dark Empire Issue 1. Pretty standard at first glance, you know, Luke, Han, Leia, Chewie, and the droids, but it's carried by the wonderful art from the legend himself, Dave Dorman, who did all the covers for Dark Empire. Any of them would have worked, but this is a good choice. And if we remove the dust jacket, we get another shot of our heroes, but flip it over is the shadowy face of Grand Admiral Thrawn. Very artistically done. And if we open it to the table of contents, it starts out with a bunch of Tales comics, then moves right into the Thrawn trilogy with Heir to the Empire, Dark Force Rising, and The Last Command. Then Dark Empire 1, 2, and Empire's End. These two trilogies make up most of the omnibus, and then followed up by some Boba Fett comics. Since there's so much to go over, I'll only do a brief summary of each story, so there may be minor spoilers ahead. The first story is Lando's Commandos, on Eagle's Wings. There are pirates using TIE interceptors to prey on convoys, so the New Republic hires Lando to bring them down. He in turn has his own team to help, but are all of them completely trustworthy? This comic is okay, but I found the art style kinda distracting. The hair on the back of people's hands reminds me of chocolate sprinkles. In the Jabba tape, Big Giz and Spiker of Shadows of the Empire fame steal Jabba's hidden battlecruiser, the Spirit of Jabba, before Gorga the Hutt can get a chance to. Unfortunately for them, they have an interactive security tape of the late Jabba the Hutt, gloating how they are set to run out of oxygen without the passcode. Big Giz and Spiker are hilarious characters, so I was really happy to see them again. Speaking of which, in the next comic, Sandblasted, Big Giz and Spiker are under attack from a leftover Phase 2 Dark Trooper, which was inadvertently uncovered by a group of Jawas. It's one thing for Kyle Katarn to try and take one of these things down, but these goofballs have to get real creative if they hope to stand a chance. In 3 Against the Galaxy, Grissom, an old Gamorrean guard, has lost his purpose in life, but when an assassination attempt takes out a rich noble, his daughter Arista is saved by Grissom, and they later team up with a Jawa who is framed for a crime he didn't commit. For a short comic, I really did enjoy the kinship between these 3 outcasts. In Marooned, a scout trooper and a rebel trooper are forced to work together after being left behind on Endor. It's pretty wholesome. A reminder that there are honorable people on both sides of a war. In Apocalypse Endor, a former stormtrooper shares his horror stories from the Battle of Endor and the savage Ewoks they had to deal with. It's somehow funny and terrifying. I don't know if its placement at this particular part of the omnibus really fits. The former stormtrooper is an old man, so this story really takes place decades after Return of the Jedi. In A Night on the Town by Timothy Zahn, Mara Jade does what she does best, sneaking around in a literal ninja outfit to not only deal with a treasonous Imperial governor, but also Crix Madine. My favorite part of the comic is when it went into first-person mode. Then next we move away from short stories to the Thrawn trilogy, with the Heir to the Empire comic adaptation. It, of course, is best enjoyed as a novel, but I think this is a respectable adaptation. Really, what else can I say? You know the story? A mysterious Grand Admiral plots the downfall of the New Republic, and recruits an insane Dark Jedi to help him. The art style is really nice. Characters' facial features and proportions are a little exaggerated, a little angular, but it's not like it's cartoony, if that makes any sense. Some notable things to point out. Paleon doesn't have his famous mustache. though I don't think that's an error because he was never mentioned with one in the original book, I believe. But what is a mistake is Luke using the wrong color of lightsaber over and over again. Even casual fans would know that he is a green lightsaber at this point. His original blue lightsaber is even a plot point in the third book. Anyway, in Dark Force Rising, multiple parties are racing for the legendary Lost Katana fleet. Luke and Mara have to team up once again to rescue Talon Karrde, and Leia works to help the Noghri who have been subjugated by the Empire for years. The writing, of course, is top-notch. The art style is a little more realistic than Air. I feel like the artist also draws more up-close shots of the characters. And the next is The Last Command, the epic conclusion of the Thrawn trilogy. With Mara Jade's help, the New Republic target the Empire's private storehouse and cloning facility. Their art style is similar to Air, but still different. Again, I think they did a good job translating the Thrawn trilogy to comic form. The next story arc is a bit more controversial. Dark Empire. Palpatine, who has resurrected in a clone body, lures Luke Skywalker to the dark side, while going even more all-out against the New Republic with his Force Storms, World Devastators, and Eclipse Star Destroyer. Not only do the heroes have to stop Palpatine, but they also have to save Luke too. Cam Kennedy's art is very unique. It's like watercolor paint, but whole pages are like a single color. It definitely fits a story as dark as Dark Empire, but I can see why people don't like it. Palpatine coming back and Luke turning to the dark side are one thing, but then pages alternate from blue to red to green. It's a little disorienting. Next is Dark Empire 2. Luke and Cam Soyuzar venture to the old Jedi planet of Ossus, while Han and Leia return to Nar Shaddaa, and Lando and the droids strike at the Imperial throne world of Biss. All of them are being attacked by Palpatine's Dark Jedi. And of course, Palpatine has a brand new weapon to destroy the Alliance once and for all. It's a fairly decent follow-up to Dark Empire 1. But Empire's End feels like a fairly rushed conclusion by comparison, being only 2 issues. It also has a new artist, Jim Bakey, who has a similar style to Cam Kennedy, but the rainbow look makes it kinda look like a gasoline spill. The Rebels and Palpatine in a dying clone body face off in a final showdown for the fate of the galaxy. Again, this is a very important trilogy in the EU, the events of which get referenced many times later. And I remember back in the day before the Epic Collections and this Marvel Omnibus, it was a chore to physically collect this trilogy, specifically Empire's End. So it's nice to have them all together once again in this. Good stuff. Next we move on to the Boba Fett section, with Twin Engines of Destruction. Boba Fett faces off against an impersonator, who goes on to show him why you don't mess with the #1 bounty hunter in the galaxy. It's a short one-shot, but still very iconic. Next is the bounty on Barkuda. To win the heart of Anakro the Hutt, Gorga the Hutt hires Boba Fett to take out her father's rival, the pirate Barkuda. Can he do it? I mean, it's Boba Fett. Of course he can. The following story is When the Fat Lady Swings. Barkuda's brother Raikuda seeks revenge on Boba Fett for going after his brother, all while dealing with Gorga the Hutt and his relationship issues. It's all pretty funny what Boba has to put up with, but he still comes out looking like a badass. And then finally is A Murder Most Foul, which is more of the same. And I don't know what it is, but I think Cam Kennedy's art works even better here than Dark Empire. Just my opinion. Then in Agent of Doom, Boba Fett is hired to go after these Imperials that are literally genociding an entire species. It is very dark. And then in the back there are a few specified non-canon humor stories, like a Wookiee Scorned, where Chewie acts like a jilted lover when Han wants to spend more time with Leia. It's stupid, but hey, it's non-canon, so who cares? And then finally, it's Problem Solvers. Han hires a bunch of Ewoks to fix computers, and it goes as well as you would expect. For some reason, it's in the Calvin and Hobbes art style. Then you get to the Star Wars Handbook, which covers certain characters, technology, and factions of Dark Empire. It's interesting, but pretty much made obsolete with Wikipedia. Then finally, we get concept art and variant covers, and authors talking about Star Wars. And that's about it. This is a pretty solid book. All the omnibuses so far have fallen into the category of being about 1,000 or 1,300 pages. This one is thankfully about 1,300 pages. But there is a catch. The market price of these omnibuses have been $125 so far, But this one and the Tales of the Jedi Omnibus have been bumped up to $150. I have no idea why. Because the new omnibuses in 2025 will also be $125. Did the price hike come about because the Thrawn trilogy, Dark Empire, and Tales of the Jedi are just fire comics? I honestly don't know. But it doesn't matter too much, because it is super discounted on Amazon for a more respectable price. If you know someone who doesn't own these comics, get it for them so they can actually see what happened after Star Wars Episode 6.